This is Langston 2092. The miniseries called Fast Money, Women, and My Life Part 8. So, I survived that whole drug bust at my college. And I wound up staying with my mom's for spring break. And the chick that I was seeing, called Nene, the one that I got caught at my college dorm. The one that my roommate was looking at when she was butt naked laying on my bed. I'm gonna call her Nene, right? So, I'm chilling with her, and things is alright. She's going to, it was beauty school or something like that, learning how to do hair. And she had, people that were there that, smoke weed. So, I would sell them weed. So I kept on going with the whole weed thing. And, for those that used to sell weed or still do, if you're not like a kingpin, if you're not selling like pounds of weed, you're really not making any money. You making like sneaker money. And that's what I was making. I was making enough to, buy sneakers, buy food, go to fast food restaurants and stuff like that, eat out like Chili's and Red Lobster, Applebee's. But I wasn't making enough to, take Nene to no 5-star restaurant, no 5-star hotel. I mean, maybe Red Roof Inn, not no Marriott or nothing. So I had this mentality like, I remember back in the days when I was in high school, Nancy Reagan said, when somebody asks you, do you want to sell drugs? Just say no. I remember that commercial. I remember the commercial where they took an egg and they cracked it and they threw in a frying pan and the egg was sizzling and then it said, this is your brain on drugs. I remember that, And I never wanted to be a menace to society. I never wanted to be part of that group, the drug dealers and everything. But I remember like when I was in high school, they had the 300 ZXs and they wore, the fancy clothes and the gold chains and all the rest of that. And us little people, that worked at Little Caesars, Piccadilly's and stuff like that, we wasn't making no money to afford that type of stuff. And here I am grown. And, Nene, she wants things. I want nice things. We all want nice things. So I said to myself, man, you know what, man? I might have to start selling crack. Because crack is where it's at. And that's when my mind started to get distorted. Like, it was about the money. It was about fast money. Fast money. And what made it so bad is that the females that Nene was around at the beauty school, all their boyfriends were drug dealers. I remember one night we went to this hotel party, right? Guy had, drug dealer, rented out, a room or whatever, and we just got high and drunk and all the rest of that stuff, and everybody was talking about what they bought their girls, and the girls were talking about what they got, and I was just sitting there like, wow, man. And I started seeing it in Nene's eyes like, wow. And so it was like, yo, the next step is crack. And, I knew somebody that had the hookup on that. The same dude that hooked me up with the weed. So I was going into that path of that path of no return, right? So one day, of course, I can't do my thing with Nene inside my mom's house or whatever. I mean, I would sneak in here and there, but for the most part, we used to go to this one park, right? And this one park had like a little house. It's like a little small house. I don't know what was in it, but it was a little small house. So we would go behind that. We would drive behind that, and then we would lay out the sheets in the back seat, and then we would do our thing. So it was a regular thing. It was about 10 o'clock at night. I had my stash because I would take my stash everywhere I would go, and just in case if I needed to sell some. So I had my stash or whatever. And I don't know why in the world that I did that, but I took my stash and put it on the dashboard, on top of the dashboard, right? So Nene gets in the back, does her cheerleader joint, throw them legs back, and I got up in there and doing my thing, you know what I'm saying? So after that, we got back in the front seat. I got in the driver's seat, she got in the passenger seat. We sitting here, we're talking back and forth because neither one of us want to be, living with our parents. We want to have our own or whatever. And then, this girl got me, Punani. She got my mind all messed up because the punani and the bodacious butt and the breast and brown eyes and beautiful skin. I mean, she was amazing, you know what I'm saying? And she just got me all caught up, right? So we talking about getting something, together, and I was cool with it, even though I was, thinking about going back to school and, finishing up, right? So we talking, whatever. Next thing you know, some lights flashing and everything. Next thing I know, somebody gets right beside the window, driver's seat of the window, and is like, get out the car. I get out of the car. I don't have no clothes. Well, excuse me. I had on some pants, and I ain't have no shirt, and I had on some socks, and that was it, right? So I get out of the car. Before I got out of the car, I did something dumb, something that is like, drug dealer 101. You don't do. I took the stash that I had on the dashboard, and I threw it under the seat. As I threw it under the seat, now I have nicks and dimes, right? Not nicks and dime bags of weed, but I have it in this one big plastic bag. As I'm throwing it down under the seat, the bags are flying everywhere, right? So I get out of the car, they search the car, they wind up getting the dime bags, nicks and dime bags, right? He comes up to me and says, this is a felony. You got a bunch of nick and dime bags, everything bagged up, so we know that you're selling it, right? So he asked for my ID, and I gave him my college ID instead of my regular ID, right? So he winds up handcuffing me, and he puts me near the squad car. Now, I'm not inside the squad car, I'm sitting outside, and he says, hold tight. He goes up to Nene and he starts talking to her, and I overhear what she's saying. So she's like, he's a good kid, he's in college, and he ran across some bad guys that was trying to, pressure him into selling the drugs, and he said he didn't want to sell no drugs, and then all of a sudden they put a gun to his head and forced him to do it. She was lying. She lied so much to the point her lies started to sound like it was the truth. Like I started believing in it, right? So he comes after me and he says, excuse me, young man, are you in school right now? I said, yeah, I'm in school break. I'm on spring break, and I'm going back to school in like a week. So he's talking to me, and he's, basically asking me what's my major, and I was like construction engineering. I said something outlandish, like I know I wasn't going to school for that, right? So then he says, you know what? This is what I'm gonna do, because I'm not gonna ruin your life. I could put a felony and take you downtown. That's what I could do, but that's not what I'm gonna do. He said, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to reduce your weed down to a less than a half ounce. Now I had 2 ounces, all bagged up, nicks and dimes. He said, I'm gonna reduce it down to a misdemeanor, less than a half ounce of weed. And I'm gonna tell them that it was all in one clump. So when you go to court, you let them know that you was using the drugs and not selling it. He unhandcuffed me, and he took the handcuffs off, and he gave me a citation and told me I could leave. And we left, right? The next day I'm cleaning the car out. The only way I survived, because I had got 2 ounces, and one of those ounces I got fronted, right? Because like I said, I wasn't even making that much money. So I was like, you know what? Let me just double up on the weed, and maybe I'll be able to make more then, right? So the only way I was able to survive far as eating and just being able to have money, was it was 2 officers. They had took most of the weed, but there was some weed that got caught up inside, in between the seats. It had to be about 7 dime bags left, and I made money off of that. I had to go back and tell my man, yo, listen, this is what happened. So he was like, yo, all right, man, you know, I'm gonna pay the Rasta dude, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, that dude don't play. So you're gonna have to pay me back. So I wind up getting a job, right? And I worked until I paid him back. So at the end of the day, you know, of course spring break ended and I went back to school. I still had owed him a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Because of course it's spring break. It was only for a week. So I worked a couple days within that week and I was able to pay him a little bit back, but not all of it. So, you know, I go back to school and, you know, I'm caught in the days. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting back saying to myself, you know what, man, I gotta get my life right, because at the end of the day, here I am. I was this close to selling crack. So I gave up the weed because I owed my man, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave that alone. And then not only that, they have video surveillance now inside our dorms. They actually had took one dorm room and just put officers in there, and they had video cameras and all of that stuff. They were surveilling us. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna leave all of this alone. And I started to, you know, I started to want to find myself, to chase after who and what I am and who and what I was. And you know, I started to get real deep inside religion, because one of my classes was not social studies, it was like world history or something like that, and we had to write an essay on the 3 monotheistic religions, which is Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. And you know, I went to the library, and as I was researching, I was like, wow, you know, they didn't tell me about Constantine. They didn't tell me about this person, that person. They didn't tell me about the books of Barnabas, and Barnabas being either the Jesus's brother or stepbrother, something like that. They didn't tell me that there was missing books of the Bible, and I started learning about a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? They didn't tell me that, you know, the name of God is actually Yahweh. There was no J's until 1565, and that Jesus' name wasn't Jesus. His name was Yeshua, and it just kept on going on and on and on, just the knowledge. And I was just getting into the you know, the information, the knowledge. And then I went to I never forget, I went to this bookstore called the Blacknificent Bookstore, located in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I was learning, I was buying books from there, and I was learning different things, you know, on black history and how we were the original Egyptians. And I was reading about Nubia. I also was reading about the Rasta, the Rasta I'm not gonna say religion, the Rasta way of life. You know, I started indulging in 5% Nation. You know, it was just a whole lot of things that I was into, just trying to find myself, you know, as a young adult. And I'll never forget, I went over to the owner of Blacknificent Bookstore one day. It was me and like 2 other dudes. It was all 3 of us. We went over to his house, and he cooked a vegetarian meal. It was like steamed cauliflower, carrots, broccoli, red onions, and if I'm not mistaken, it was either quinoa or couscous. And we all sat down and we ate, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, I don't know about this vegetarian, you know, and stuff. Where the meat at? You know what I mean? I'm straight up. I ain't woke at all. You know, I'm asleep at this time. You know, so I'm ignorant. So I'm like, yo, where the meat? You know. So anyway, he had the guy, the owner of the bookstore, Blacknificent Bookstore. He had a son and a daughter, and they were like really cultural, you know. the son played the djembe drum, and the daughter, knew how to do African dances and everything. And then they started asking me, where I'm from and everything. And I was telling him New York or whatever, and he was like, yo, you ever been here and this cultural event and this and that and so forth. And I was sitting there, I remember, I never forget, I was like stunned, like that was the first time like I didn't have nothing to say, because my parents from the projects, you know what I'm saying, my family's from the projects. We don't know nothing about no cultural nothing, none of that stuff. I come from Christianity. I don't know nothing about no cultural stuff. I don't know no African stuff. We used to call the Africans African booty scratches and stuff. We used to pick on them in school, for the few that was in the South. So yeah, I'm just coming like fresh out of the water. I don't know nothing, and I'm ignorant. I'm deaf, dumb, and blind, but I'm trying to find myself. But at the same time, it's like, at this point in time, man, I don't know about this vegetarian stuff. I don't know about this African dances and the djembe drums and all the rest of that. I mean, where the weed at? Where the Mad Dog 2020? Where the liquid crack? You know what I'm saying? Called Cisco, because that's what I was into at that point in time. I mean, I was going back and forth. I would read, but at the same time, I remember it plain as day. I was in the club and they was like, spark that L, yo, smoke that blunt, chief. Mad Lion. We in the bathroom and we pulling the weed and everything. And my man at that time, me and him, we was selling weed inside the club. That's how we got down. Before we went to the club, we was drinking Mad Dog 2020. We was charged up. So all this stuff was new to me, man. So one day I was in the cafeteria in the student union, and I came out of the cafeteria, and it was a dude that had a table, and he was selling books. And I went up to him and I was like, yo, what you got? Because normally it'd just be, these guys would, trying to get you to, sign up for a credit card. But this guy, he was sharp, black guy, sharp, head to toe. He had on all the latest gear and everything, And I was like, what you got? And he's like, yo, I got these books authored by Dr. Malachi Z. York. And I'm going to end it there. My name is Langston 2092. Tune in. I want you to like the video. I want you to share the video. That's very important. I want you to subscribe and comment. 1.